repeated? When is the test? When is the test? Then you prepare all the chapters. Okay. Jokes apart, we'll start with the chapters first. Nervous system. Last time we have done this. We have done transverse section of spinal cord. Okay? I hope you have understood. I hope you have understood the structure. Is there any question regarding the structure? What is the fluid that flows in central canal? What is the fluid that flows in central canal? What is the function of CSF? Now we'll start. Now listen properly. For the exchange of respiratory gases, protection for mechanical shocks and jerks. Then it also takes away the metabolic waste away from the spinal cord. Now we'll start with little subjective part of spinal cord. I hope I have already told you, but still I'll repeat. Length in the case of adult spinal cord is 42 to 45 centimeters. Okay, it is not uniformly thick. The above part, when it is just coming out of foramen magnum, is 130 millimeter across. But when it reaches to, and after that it tapers, and when it reaches to pelvic girdle, okay, then it becomes 70 millimeter across. So from 130 millimeter across to 70 millimeter across. Okay, location is in neural canal of the vertebral column. It extends from medulla oblongata to the lower level through the protective bony arch, and it extends up till the pelvic girdle region, almost the length of spine. Okay, it stops growing at the age of 4 to 5 years. The spinal cord is protected by same three meninges. The spinal cord gives out a pair of spinal nerves between two vertebrae. One nerve on each side. Now let us see the function of spinal cord. Spinal cord controls all the reflexes below the neck. It also provides a passage to and fro from the receptor to the CNS and from the CNS to the effector. The most important function of spinal cord is to control reflex action. What is a reflex action? It is an immediate, instantaneous or involuntary response that is given by an organism or by an individual to any sensory stimulus. In this case, the reaction till it is given or response till it is shown Kajal? By the nerve impulse during the reflex action is called as reflex arc. Now this is a reflex arc. Okay, this is a reflex arc. Diagram is clear. The arc will be made, it can be from both the sides. Here also. This side also. But we are going to talk about from one side only. This is transverse section of spinal cord showing you what happened, Manu. Gray matter and white matter. These are, the inside is gray matter which is arranged in the form of letter H, and outside it is surrounded by white matter. Okay, this is receptor. Receptor will receive the impulse, and from here the message will enter. Nerve impulse will travel and it will reach to the gray matter. So through this the nerve impulse is entering. So this is called as dorsal root, ROOT. Or this is also made up of, this dorsal root is made up of sensory neuron, because sensory neuron brings in the nerve impulse. Okay, all right. Dendrites of sensory neuron are attached to the receptor, while all the cytons are grouped together in the form of ganglion. This ganglion is collection of cytons of sensory neuron, and all the axon of these sensory neuron end up in the dorsal horn of the gray matter in spinal cord. So entire this structure is incoming route for the sensory nerve impulse, whose dendrites are attached to the receptor, all the cytons in a ganglion, and all the axons together make sensory nerve, which will be ending up in the dorsal horn of the gray matter. Now from here, this route, the arrow is going out to the effector to show the response. So here, the nerve that is connected to the effector will be motor nerve. All the cytons of the motor neuron are located at the ventral horn of the spinal cord. If you remember, this is dorsal horn and this is ventral horn. So all the cytons are located in the ventral horn, while all the axons are grouped together to make a nerve, and now this motor nerve will end up at the effector. In the gray matter, you can see association neuron. This association neuron connect axon ending of the sensory neuron with the cytons of the motor neuron. This is a connector. Okay? The connector will always be present in the gray matter. Ganglion will always be present outside the CNS. Alright? So this is reflex arc. Now this portion which I have put in a block. One part is sensory and the other part is motor. Both the nerves are attached to the spinal cord, therefore this is called as spinal nerve. All the spinal nerves are mixed nerve. Mixed nerve is a bundle of nerve which have axons of both sensory neuron and motor neuron. Alright? Okay. Now what mistake do you do? This is an important question. They ask you to draw reflex arc. The mistake that you do is in writing the first common mistake, receptor and effector. If this become ulta pulta, it will all be wrong. Not making arrow, if arrow is not there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 arrows are not there, examiner will give you 0. Okay, so to show the root, you have to draw the arrow. And position of association neuron should be always in gray matter. It will never be in the white matter. Alright? If you have drawn the diagram in your notebook right now and label the entire diagram, you write down. Arrow is must to be shown. Association neuron in the gray matter. And the position of receptor to and effector should be correct. White and gray matter should be labeled and it should be, the position should be correct. Again, if white matter and gray matter is reversed, then also the diagram will not stay correct. Have you drawn? Have you understood? Drawn? You have to write all the 3 names. Like dorsal root, it will never be R-O-U-T-E as Mano is writing continuously. It will be R-O-O-T, root. It will be axons of sensory neuron or efferent nerve, efferent or sensory nerve. And it will be dorsal root ganglion. Why ganglion is not present in the ventral root? Why ganglion is not present in the ventral root? Give me the answer first. Why ganglion is not present in the ventral root? Why it is only present? Any more? Give me the answer first. told you, because dendrite of the sensory neuron are attached to the receptor. So, the cytons are present in the form of a ganglion. And the axons will end up in the dorsal horn. In the ventral root, all the cytons of the motor neuron will be located in the ventral horn, while all the axon will end up in the effector. The function of association neuron is to connect sensory neuron with the motor neuron. And spinal cord control all the reflexes below the neck. Below the neck. If you are getting any stimulus here, then spinal cord will never be, because brain is ready to take the impulse, no? Brain do not, suppose I give you a slap here, you will immediately turn your face away from me. Spinal cord do not have to think even about it. Suppose you are going in a bus, okay, somewhere, and your head strikes the window. Your head will be immediately away from the window. Why will spinal cord intervene? Brain is ready to take in, show the response. Alright? Alright. We'll start with brain. We'll start the final organ of the central nervous system, that is brain. Okay? Brain is located mid-dorsally in your body. It is the top portion of your entire body. It is enclosed in cranial cavity, which is made up of cranial bones or bone of skull. Okay? It weighs 1,350 grams. Almost. Okay? The brain is divided into three portions, which we have already seen: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. We will start with the forebrain. The maximum portion of the forebrain is cerebrum. Okay? It is in shape, it is like hood, and it covers the entire internal portion of the cerebrum. Okay? Now we'll start with the parts of the brain. Forebrain consists of cerebrum and diencephalon. Largest and highly developed part of the brain is cerebrum. It is so large that it overhangs the other part of the brain. Other part of the brain, it is brain stem. What is brain stem made up of? It is made up of midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. These three structures make the brain stem. Brain stem is divided horizontally into outer cortex, which is made up of gray matter, and inner medulla. Okay? Outer cortex and inner medullary region. The medullary region is made up of white matter. What is the position of gray and white matter in spinal cord? it is just reversed. Gray matter is central, white matter is peripheral in spinal cord. In cerebrum, gray matter is peripheral and white matter is central. Don't write reverse in exam. Okay, you have to write down which one is peripheral and which one is central. If you see horizontally, this is horizontal part of the brain. Outer portion is cerebral cortex, inner portion is medulla. You can see here the convolution. This is the soft part of the brain and it is covered by meninges. Above the meninges is bony cranial cavity. These are up and down, these are convolution. Okay, so convolution is the characteristic of cerebrum, or this is also called as cerebral cortex. The convolution is because of, so that the brain can accommodate large number of neurons. Larger the number of neuron, more will be the IQ of an individual. Okay, so this convolution is made up of gyri and sulci. Okay, the projection is called as gyri, while inside will be sulci. So there are many gyri and many sulci. Singular is gyrus and sulcus. Okay, so gyri and sulci make the convolution of the cerebral cortex. The function of cerebral cortex is extremely important. Okay, that is how you are going to learn. You have to cross out O. Cerebral cortex is important for your intelligence, for your memory, for planning anything, for reasoning, and for thinking. These are 5 important functions of cerebrum. Intelligence, memory, planning, then reasoning, and then thinking. Besides this, it is also important for WIC. W stand for your willpower, I stand for invention. When you need to invent anything, you require intelligence, you require memory, you require planning the experiments, you require reasoning for your own doubt, and you are required to think. Cerebrum is also site of consciousness. Whatever you think, it is because of your consciousness. So, this is also the site of consciousness. These are all function of cerebrum. Alright? Have you understood? Done? No, it is okay. They are not replying only. I am not able to understand. Okay. I don't have to repeat now? M stand for memory. है ना. Willpower. T is thinking. Okay, these are the function of cerebrum. Now listen properly. The surface of cortex is highly convoluted to accommodate large number of neurons, which is directly proportional to the IQ of an individual. The folds are called gyri, while the shallow grooves are called as sulci. Deeper grooves. When the grooves become very deep, then it is called as fissure. Fissure. It is known as fissure. A prominent longitudinal groove in the middle divides cerebrum into two cerebral hemispheres. So this is a groove or sulcus which is deep, and then it is known as fissure. If you want to cut the cerebrum longitudinally, you find a deep groove dividing cerebrum into two cerebral hemispheres. The two cerebral hemispheres are connected together by corpus callosum. In this horizontal section, corpus callosum is not visible. In longitudinal section, it is visible. It is made up of thick myelinated nerve fiber, which connects the two cerebral hemispheres. Okay? In the center of the cerebrum, middle portion of the cerebrum, we find diencephalon. Diencephalon is formed by thalamus, upper thalamus, and lower hypothalamus. This thalamus allows from the receptor the impulses of double P. One P stands for pain and the other P stands for pressure. Okay? And it sends it to the higher center. Pain and pressure. Hypothalamus regulates the temperature. It is a thermostat of your body. It regulates the temperature and it also regulates master endocrine gland, pituitary, which is attached to hypothalamus with the help of a small stalk. Alright, midbrain is a small portion of the brain which is tubular, which connects forebrain with the hindbrain. And the midbrain happens to control visual and auditory reflexes. It helps you to move your eyeball within the socket. Visual reflexes and auditory reflexes. It helps in the movement of the eyeball and it helps you in the hearing. So, midbrain you are not able to see here, but it is a small tubular portion. Then comes the hindbrain. Hindbrain consists of cerebellum, which is also known as little brain. You can see here, structurally, the arrangement of grey and white matter is same. White matter, central, grey matter, peripheral. It doesn't have convolution. Like cerebrum, it doesn't have convolution. But it has furrows. Furrows appear like branching of trees. It has got very advanced neuron, which are called as Purkinje fibers, which is also found in heart. They are present in the cerebellum. Cerebellum is meant for muscular coordination coordination. Okay? Balances your body and it coordinates muscle. If I want to pick up this paper, show you the diagram. It is joint effect of cerebrum as well as cerebellum. If I'll ask you to move out of the class, which is not possible, it will be cerebellum working there. If a person has taken lot of alcohol, the posture is defective. It is because of the cerebellum. So in longitudinal section, cerebellum also has got two hemisphere, which is called as cerebellar hemisphere. Okay, below the cerebrum is the cerebellum. A small portion, swollen portion, which is under the cerebellum is pons. Okay, the function of pons is to send the nerve impulse from one cerebellar hemisphere to other. Okay, it transfers the nerve impulse from one cerebellar hemisphere to other, and the position is slightly below the cerebellum. Then comes the most important part. All are important, but in that important part, the most important is medulla oblongata. Is the lowermost part of the brain, triangular in shape, and it controls all the involuntary activity. Here you have voluntary. Here you have muscular coordination and balance. Here you have involuntary. Alright? In medulla oblongata, distribution of white and gray matter is same. White matter central, gray matter peripheral. And it controls breathing movement, peristalsis, anything of your body on which you do not have any control. You can see in longitudinal section, this is medulla oblongata. So from here to here, white matter is central, gray matter is peripheral. Now here comes the opening of the cranial cavity, which is foramen magnum. Here you have foramen magnum, from which medulla oblongata continues as spinal cord. From this, spinal cord emerges out, and it is a tapering structure passing through neural canal of the vertebral column. And here, the gray and white matter reverses. Gray matter becomes central and white matter become peripheral. So from here to here, forebrain, midbrain is located somewhere here, and from here to here will be hindbrain, while all together is brain, central nervous system. Brain, spinal cord. Okay? There are fissures that divide brain into four lobes. This is called as frontal, this is parietal, this is temporal, and back is occipital. Okay? I repeat. Frontal, this is frontal, cerebrum meant for memory, parietal, temporal, and here back it will be occipital. Okay? I'm going to read out and you will listen properly. A prominent longitudinal groove in the middle divides cerebrum into two hemispheres which are known as cerebral hemisphere. Okay, each hemisphere is divided into four lobes: frontal, parietal, temporal and occipital. The two cerebral hemispheres are connected by a thick band of nerve fiber known as corpus callosum, which is a unique feature of mammalian brain. Diencephalon remains hidden beneath the cerebrum and consists of thalamus and hypothalamus. Midbrain I have already talked about. It controls visual and auditory reflexes. Hindbrain is smaller area of brain located at the base and under large cerebrum. It has no convolution but has numerous furrows. It also has an outer cortex made up of gray matter. Centrally it has white matter, which appears like a branching tree. It maintains balance of the body and coordinate muscular activity. Cerebellum is concerned with some subconscious skeletal movement which are involved in posture and balance. The pons veruli, located in the center of brain and below cerebellum. It carries impulses from one hemisphere to the other. Medulla oblongata is posterior part of the hindbrain, located at the base of the skull, roughly triangular and is continued behind as spinal cord. It controls the activity of internal organs like peristaltic movement of alimentary canal, breathing movement, beating of heart, and many other involuntary actions like sneezing, coughing, swallowing, vomiting, hiccuping. Injury to medulla oblongata results in death of an individual. That completes the explanation of nervous system. Now we'll be starting with reflexes. It's a very small but important topic because there are many questions related to. When we start talking about reflexes, it is related to giving response or reaction of an individual toward any action or towards any stimulus. So reflexes are a kind of response. Okay? Reaction can be of two types. One will be voluntary, which is done consciously. An individual perform voluntary action in its full consciousness. Okay? Consciously, it performs voluntary activity. But involuntary activities are performed subconsciously. Okay? And these involuntary activities are known as reflexes. Clear is it? Clear? So involuntary actions are performed subconsciously by an individual. Now we will see them separately. Now reflexes or involuntary activity fall in two categories. First is natural involuntary activities. Natural ones will always be inborn. They are always innate reflexes. Inborn or natural responses are always innate. A person, a baby, do that activity. It comes from within because it is there in your genetic makeup. Okay? It is directly inherited from your parents. These things are called as natural reflexes. Clear? So you do not have to have a past experience to show natural reflex. Okay? The example of natural reflexes are there in your book, and you have to learn only those many. Knee-jerk reflex, withdrawal of hand on sudden pricking, peristaltic reflexes, coughing reflexes, sneezing reflexes. These are all natural reflexes. Okay? Other reflexes are, the second one is acquired. Acquired reflex, you happen to, first of all, they are not genetic. You learn them in your lifetime. Acquired reflex. Okay? And because they develop in your lifetime, you have to have a previous experience for those to show those reflexes. Like if you have any tasty dish in a party, you will subconsciously remember the taste and the fragrance and the odor of that particular dish. When you enter a second party and you have same odor, same fragrance of dish, then your mouth will start salivating. That is experience of that taste in previous party. Your mouth before eating only will start salivating. That is acquired reflex. When for acquired reflex, the same stimulus is repeated many times, then the same reflex, acquired reflex, become a conditioned reflex. Understood? Understood? When you take admission lower KG in school, you do not get up when a teacher enter. The teacher start giving you stimulus that whenever I am going to you have to stand up and wish me. Then upper KG, then 1, class 1, then 2, then the reflex is becoming conditioned in your habit. Okay? After that, you need not to be taught the reflex. The moment teacher will enter in your class, you will stand up. Alright? Pandit Ravi Shankar, he used to close his eye and the fingers of his could go to the right note. He didn't have to see the notes. Okay? But the rag will be coming out of that sitar, the instrument he used. Perfect. That is conditioned reflex. When he started playing sitar, that was not possible. But after practicing days and days and days, then it became conditioned reflex. So first the reflex was acquired and then it became conditioned. Okay? That is called as condition. So in conditioned reflex, cerebrum plays an important role. Okay? Alright? When you do WhatsApp message, sometimes you do not have to see also. You will write a perfect message. That is conditioned reflex.